Most barndominiums, they start with a pretty simple idea. It's a large open space with shop area and somewhere inside that's like a place to live. But a lot of them, they end up feeling exactly like that. They feel like a shop and with just like a couch placed inside it. So I want to take a step back and try something a little bit different. To design one just from scratch, looking at it from a residential and commercial side. Not something that just looks good in a rendering, but something that actually works when you're living in it. For me, this really wasn't about just making it bigger or more dramatic. I wanted to get the few key decisions right. The kind of decisions you don't always notice immediately, but you end up feeling every day when you're living in this space. I started this pretty simply by just laying out the main zones. There's the shop, the dirty, loud side. There's the living space, the place where you might have friends over, you're cooking breakfast, you're hanging out with your family. And then there's the private areas, place for solitude and rest. Each one of these has a different purpose. They also have a different noise level and a different pace to your life. So at this stage, I'm not trying to solve the entire plan. I'm just trying to understand how these pieces might relate to each other. Because a lot of the real decisions don't actually show up here. They show up once you start kind of moving through the space. But the one thing I did want to establish early on was a transition between the shop and the home. Instead of going directly from one to the other, I introduced a small in-between space. Somewhere you can drop your gear, somewhere where you can take your boots off and reset before stepping inside. It's a simple move, but I think it sets the tone for everything else. So when I start modeling something like this, I try to keep it very simple at first. I begin with the structure and the main walls and the primary openings, just enough to sort of define the overall space without overthinking it. From there, I start working on interior walls and I lay out the floor plan pretty quickly. I'm not trying to perfect it, I'm just trying to get everything in place so that I can start moving through the model and really experiencing the space as you would live there. Because once you're inside the model, you start to notice things you can't see on the plan. The area I ended up spending most of the time on early was the stair and how it connects to the second floor. You have a loft space above and it's an open air to the living area below. And these two are really tied together. The stair isn't just about getting upstairs, it's about how the two levels relate to each other. I tried different configurations here. Straight shot, L shape, different turns, different landing conditions, trying to find something that just felt natural in the space. Some options they felt too abrupt. Others felt like they were just placed there without intention. I eventually landed on this L-shaped stair. It gives you a natural place to land, a moment to turn, and it connects both levels in a way that feels more considered. It's one of those elements that really shapes the entire experience. Once those elements are in place, I start adding furniture to the model. Nothing super detailed and perfectly laid out, just enough to sort of understand the scale of what I'm working with, and how the space might actually be used if you lived in it day to day. And that's where things started to reveal themselves. The first thing that stood out to me was this entry. On the plan, it seemed completely fine. But once I was moving through the space and had the furniture and everything in there, it felt too direct and too abrupt. Like you arrived at the building and the door was right there. You're immediately in the living area. There was no transition, no sense of arrival or a change of pace. So here I pulled the wall back slightly, just enough to create a recessed entry. It's almost like a small porch at the front. And that small adjustment, I feel like completely changed the feeling. Now there's a moment when you arrived, before you're fully inside the home. It's subtle, but I feel like it makes the space more intentional. And it makes it so it's easier when you walk into a space to have transition from the outside to the inside. The next thing that became obvious to me once I was in the plan was the way the bedrooms connected to the main space. Originally, the bedroom doors actually opened directly onto the living area, and once I saw it in the model, it just felt too exposed. It's one of my pet peeves is having your bedroom door open right into the living area where other people are. There really wasn't enough separation between the public and the private. So instead of moving it around and just trying to adjust it slightly, I just flipped the layout of the bedroom with a closet in the bathroom completely. That gave me just enough room to create a small alcove where the bedroom entry is alongside the office. Now there's a layer of privacy without needing to really add more space or square footage. It's one of those decisions that you might not notice right away, but you'll feel it over time when you're feeling more secure and more private. From there, I start just thinking about how we shape the experience of the space, mostly volumetrically and vertically. It's easy to make everything just tall, but when everything's big, nothing really stands out. So instead, I try to create contrast. The entry is slightly more compressed, the main living space opens up with more light and more volume, but in that back sort of private area, it comes back down again with a lower ceiling to feel more controlled and comfortable. It's not really about the size, it's about how you move from one space to the other and how you get a different sense of feeling, whether you're in the main living area, the bedrooms, or in the shop area. Material-wise, this is always going to be a balance with these types of buildings. The exterior is going to lean more industrial, but the interior should still feel like a home. So I focused on that contrast. Simple, durable materials on the outside and in the shop, but warmer, softer materials on the inside. And then the light was just going to tie everything together. Not just how much light there is, but where it comes from. Light should help define how a space is used before anything else. So imagine it's a Friday, you pull into the shop, it's been a long day, and you're excited for the projects you're going to be working on. There's space for you to work, or to build, or just to move freely. From there, you transition into that in-between zone. You drop your tools and your keys, you take your boots off, and you take a moment to breathe. And then you move into the living space. It's a bit quieter, it's warmer, and it has a different pace to it than the shop. This becomes the center of the home. And beyond that, you got your office and you got your bedrooms where it's much more quiet and calm. It's more still, it's more contained, it's a little more personal. You know, a lot of these decisions, they're kind of small, moving a wall or flipping a layout or refining a stair. But once you start moving through the space, you can feel which ones really matter. And that's really what the design process is about. Not just designing something that looks right, but something that feels right when you're living in it. But I want to know from you. I've never lived in a barndominium before. I've done residential, I've done commercial work, and this is sort of the marriage between the two. But if you're thinking about a barndominium or you currently live in one, what works for you? Let me know, because I'm really trying to learn more as I design these buildings, and I really would love your feedback. Thanks for coming along with me on this. Stay curious and design with intent.